What is up, guys? This is the third episode of the Fast Break Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Godsey, and today we have a special guest, my roommate, Tanner Dislin.
What's up, guys?
So in today's episode, we're going to talk about last week's NBA draft and just our opinions on the picks, who's a good pick, who's going to be a bust, all that. But I want to introduce a new segment to the podcast. So I'm going to think of an obscure-ass player, and y'all are in the comments, viewers are going to guess, and I'll tell y'all next episode. So this guy played from 2005 to 2016 in the NBA. Most notably, he played 4 years with the Lakers from 2010 to 2014. He actually won a 2002 NCAA championship with Maryland. He played point guard, and his numbers he played as are 2, 5, and 22. 5, 22, and 25. So let me know if y'all have any guesses in the comments. So the next segment is going to be talking about the top 10 draft picks, whether we think they're good or bad picks. So let's hop right into it. Number 1, Anthony Edwards. What you think?
I like the pick personally. I know a lot of people had their doubts with his comments about really not wanting to play basketball and not watching basketball, but the bottom line is he was the best player at the position they needed, and they don't need a point guard. They don't really need a big man with D'Angelo Russell and Karl-Anthony Towns, so they maximize their value by taking it forward, and I like the pick.
Yeah, I agree. There's obviously some questions on his defensive side, but a little comparison is James Harden. So it's one of not having a defensive game will not really affect him in the NBA. And like you said, the other two prospects were a point guard and a center, which they don't really need. So next we're going to hit James Wiseman to the Golden State Warriors.
Now this one's a little bit more interesting because of what went down actually on draft day with Klay Thompson. And you kind of have to view it from a standpoint of not really knowing what was going on, so assuming that you have Klay Thompson. So from that standpoint, I do like the pick also because, again, they've never really had a big man that put consistent output. You know, they would just kind of plug in JaVale McGee, plug in Andrew Bogut, plug in all these guys. But hopefully James Wiseman will be a guy they can develop into a good starting center to help that elite backcourt or front court.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I do agree. It was a good pick, but knowing what they know now, I think they would have gone a different route. I think we would have seen LaMelo Ball at 2 and Wiseman going later. But due to the fact they didn't know, I think it's a great pick. We'll see how he works with Steph. I think he could thrive very well in the pick and roll game. So third pick, we have probably one of the most talked about prospects, LaMelo Ball. Good or bad pick?
Neither. Great pick. Just because you're a team that kind of needs everything. There's not really a position where you don't need, and they get who a lot of people think is the most talented player in the draft, and certainly the most box office player in the draft for a team that's kind of fallen into irrelevancy. So I think it checked all the boxes: star player, position of need, bring notoriety and attention to a franchise that really hasn't had it in the past couple of years. I really do like the LaMelo pick a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I think it was one of the best picks in the draft. I think it'll be interesting to see how he complements their one good player in Devontae Graham. Just see how that duo works, because I literally can't name any other player on that team other than Malik Monk. That's the only person I can think of off the top of my head. So yeah, I think we both agree that's a really great pick. Good not only on the court but off the court. It brings a lot of fan attention, whether you're just a casual NBA fan or a Hornets fan. It brings a lot of attention. Now with the fourth pick, we have Patrick Williams to the Chicago Bulls. What's your opinion on that one?
Yeah, I think your little chuckle kind of gave it away. I know we keep agreeing here, but I just don't really understand it. You have what seems like a ton more value on the board, and at number 4, you decide to jump on. Maybe see something in his verse. Really not a huge fan of the pick. I know you have some strong feelings, so I'll throw that to you.
Yeah, don't really understand this pick. in the slightest. You had Onyeka Okongwu still available. You basically had any other player available that's not named Patrick Williams. I'll touch base on Patrick Williams a little later in the segment, but yeah, I agree. Not a probably one of the worst picks in this draft. And classic Chicago Bulls though, picking players that don't really produce, but whatever. And then with the fifth pick, we have Isaac Okoro. Any opinion on that one?
This one I'm kind of lukewarm on. He's a good player, a really good defender, which I think will help. Certainly help Cleveland.
Yeah.
This defense kind of poor. Well, it does a lot of things poorly, but I think defending is certainly one of those.
Yeah.
And he's just a good player, a solid player that's a good defender. I don't think he's going to, turn the tides of the franchise or anything like that. But he's certainly a nice piece to have. So I think it's a fine pick.
Yeah.
That's really my view on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he'll complement Colin Sexton pretty well. Like you said, they don't really have anything going for him right now. I guess they do have Andre Drummond, so we'll see. I mean, it's the Cavs, who freaking knows. So next player we got Onyeka Okongwu, or however you say that name. Any opinions on that?
Yeah, this one, another one that I don't know if I get. He's a good player. He's a really good player. But being a big man, and they have Clint Capella, and they have kind of these young players at the skill position, like Trae Young and DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah.
And I just think another complement to those guys, another guard, another forward would have worked better. I think the fit is okay because he'll play behind Clint Capella, which,
yeah,
you got to learn from. But I just don't know if the value was worth the 6th overall pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should have gone with like a small forward role. I think they should have taken Denny with this pick just because I think he complements their already pieces. Not to mention Clint Capella, but he's also going to be competing for time on the court with John Collins as well, who's also a younger but proven piece. So yeah, a little questionable decision by the Hawks there. Now the next picks, the Pistons selected Killian Hayes. What's your opinion on that one?
I like it. A team that has kind of had a point guard carousel, using Reggie Jackson for a while, Derrick Rose even more recently, but he's a good piece, good point guard. Obviously young and has room to improve, but I do like the piece, and I think he'll fit well with that team and really help them more in the future, because I don't really know if the Pistons are set up for a win now mode, but I do like the pick.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I think a lot of people are overlooking with this pick is he's going to be mentored by one of the best point guards in the recent past with D Rose. I think he'll explore Killian Hayes' game a little more, because from what I've seen from this guy, he's like a Steph Curry type player, rather shoot a three than take a wide open layup kind of guy. But I think right now, I don't think it's a great pick, but it could end up being a really good, he could be a really good player in the future. But right now, he's obviously a project player, I believe. Now, the Knicks took Obi Toppin with the next pick in the draft. You being a New York fan, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think my reaction to this, I'm pretty sure, was the same throughout all of Knicks fandom, and that was immediate. I can't believe we did it again. We needed a point guard. Tyrese Halliburton was available. What are we doing? And then just taking a second to think about it, Obi's not a bad player by any means. The kind of Julius Randle project that they had at power forward did not work out last year. Randle was not good by any stretch of the imagination. Constant turnovers, forcing shots, but there still is value in terms of Randle, and I think he can be an interesting trade piece for other teams. But I will say this, I do like the Obi pick as long as there's a plan. Whether that plan is to then flip Julius Randle for a point guard, some notable ones on the market like Russell Westbrook or John Wall, or package other pieces together. Who's going to start? Do you move Obi to small forward and then move RJ back to shooting guard? Who knows? But there just needs to be a plan. And as long as that's the case, I like it.
Yeah, I don't really like this pick just because, like you said, they needed a point guard and playing the chance of getting a big free agent or trade with their players isn't some I'd be betting on. But not like you said, Obi's not a bad player. I just think it's not what the Knicks needed. They have talent at his position, but I'm glad they didn't trade up to get Obi. I mean, most of the point guards that everyone was talking about were already drafted, so I'm not surprised they took him. I think it was a situation of kind of taking the best overall talent, but like you said, Tyrese at a position they needed was available, but they didn't, which was confusing. But yeah, very interesting pick by the Knicks. Then we got Denny, however the crap you say his last name, going to the Washington Wizards. Any opinion on that?
Yeah, I really like it. And I like it from a value standpoint. I mean, Denny was looked at in the top 5 in a lot of mock drafts.
Yeah.
And getting him at 9, I think, is a tremendous value. Again, it's a team who they've had really good guards in recent memory. John Wall's probably on his way out, but you have an elite shooting guard. I mean, that's what he is, an elite shooting guard in Bradley Beal, an elite scorer. And he's just a good scoring forward, and with tremendous value. So yeah, I do like that pick.
Yeah, I like this pick. I mean, it's a position they needed. He's proven himself in the top division of Euroball. He reminds me a lot of a taller Luka Doncic. Can basically do anything you need him to do. And I think he's going to complement Bradley Beal very well. So yeah, that's all we got on Denny. And now the 10th pick, a questionable one, Jalen Smith. Any opinion on that one?
I think it's just absolutely atrocious. To put it bluntly, you execute this trade to bring in Chris Paul, someone who, I mean, he had a fantastic year last year, but his years are limited. Let's be real. And by making that move, you've kind of turned the dial to a little bit more of a win now mode. And you go ahead and you take a backup center, someone who's going to back up DeAndre Ayton. When you have these positions of need, like you presume that Chris Paul is going to be the starting point guard and Devin Booker is going to be starting shooting guard. Then forward shoes, they signed Dario Saric. Okay, he's a decent role player. But another guy to plug in there really feels like it would have worked better. And a backup center of all the positions to get a backup to work into the rotation, center just feels weird when you can probably go and get a veteran to plug in because, like I said, it's going to be behind DeAndre Ayton, and presumably DeAndre Ayton is going to be the center for many years to come.
Yeah.
So I just do not understand it one bit.
Yeah, I agree. My only thought process on that is maybe they move him to the 4. That's the only reason I could think they took this Jalen Smith so high, but I agree. Very questionable pick, especially with losing Kelly Oubre in that trade with the Thunder. So next we are going to talk about who we thought the best pick of the NBA draft was. So who you got with that?
Throughout this little top 10 analysis we did, I kept going back to this idea of value, which I think is very important in assessing. Of course, we all know this is early, and any of these guys can be busts. Any of these guys can turn out to be great picks. But in terms of value, I think the best pick was Tyrese Halliburton at 12 to the Sacramento Kings. A lot of teams or a lot of mock drafts, were valuing him top 5, certainly top 10. I don't think I saw one with him not in the top 10.
Yeah.
And with teams like Charlotte and New York and Detroit in that top 10 who need point guards, if you felt like he was going to be taken off the board, and he didn't. He fell to Sacramento, and they scooped him up, and I think that's tremendous value. I think he's a really good player, and it's going to be a little interesting to see how that works with Darren Fox.
Yeah.
They're now max player. But in terms of value and the best player available, I think them two together could be very, very good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go a little different route. Call me basic, but I'm gonna go LaMelo Ball. Just the Hornets have always been kind of the laughing joke of the NBA, and with a player like LaMelo Ball, many analysts, including myself, have classified him as a generational type player. I mean, he's a 6'8" point guard that has pass vision like no other player I've ever seen. And not only does he bring success on the court, but off the court, I want to say the season ticket sales the night of the draft are now like the highest increase in percentage of season ticket holders. I just think it's a really good pick for the franchise, both on the court and off the court. So next, we're going to talk about the worst pick of the draft. We've kind of touched on this, but who you got there?
I'm going back to Jalen Smith. I just don't get it. When you look at the makeup of the team, with Chris Paul and Devin Booker is going to be very, very good starting guards. Then you look at their forwards. They did sign Jay Crowder, which adds a little bit of depth. But I'm just thinking if they were able to draft someone at kind of like Denny,
Yeah.
or no, Denny was taken at the time, but a forward
Player.
to work in with McCall Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder as those forwards, because it just seems like it's very guard heavy, and the 10th overall pick to just kind of sit behind DeAndre Ayton. I like I said, I think value wise they could have really helped their team out by picking up a forward to possibly develop into a star.
Yeah, I agree. Probably the worst pick, I think, gotta be Patrick Williams out of Florida State going to the Bulls, 4th overall. I'm getting some major Anthony Bennett vibes from this pick. Obviously not number one, but just will not produce in the NBA for a top 5 pick. I just don't see it happening. Considering he didn't start a single game at Florida State out of the 29 they played. Why are you taking a guy who didn't even start in college at number 4 overall? That literally makes no sense to me. And in the 22 minutes he did play, he averaged 9.2 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. But he did shoot 46% from the field. Why are you taking a dude that averaged 9 points in a rather weak conference last year at number 4? Why? This pick is one of the most questionable in the draft, in my opinion. When they drafted him, I was like, one, who is that guy? And once I did research on him, I was like, why? It was just interesting because I never heard of this dude, to be honest with you, and it just doesn't make any sense at all. Like, I want to know the reason why the Bulls drafted him over Isaac, the other 9 guys in the top 12. It just doesn't make sense. Now a little more interesting. We got, who's your sleeper pick coming out of this draft? Like a dude that'll produce more, kind of being slept on.
Yeah, this one took me a minute. And as I looked through the entire draft, I found a name that really, it piques my interest a little bit. And that is Udoka Azubuike from Kansas. The MO on him when he was at Kansas is that he was a shot blocker, a rebounder, and a finisher. And I mean, his senior year at Kansas, he averaged 10.5 rebounds per game, 13.7 points per game, and double right there. And he goes to Utah to play behind Rudy Gobert, a shot blocker, a rebounder, and a finisher. And I think playing behind Rudy and really learning what it takes to excel at those things in the NBA puts him in a very, very interesting spot. And I think a spot where he could have great success in. And I think he can grow into quite the nice center
Yeah.
for the modern NBA, which again, the three things: a shot blocker, a rebounder, and a finisher. And I know I was just clowning on the Suns for this for taking a backup center, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think the 10th overall pick in the second round are a little different in terms of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think he's in a really good spot to have success and learning from one of the game's best at his strengths.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I kind of forgot he got drafted to the Jazz. For my sleeper pick, I'm gonna go with a guy who was projected to go top 20, top 15 in some mock drafts, but fell quite a bit actually. RJ Hampton, coming out of New Zealand. He is a 24th pick to the Nuggets. And the reason I think this guy is going to be a sleeper is in the past couple of years, we've more specifically with Luka Doncic, we've noticed that guys that go overseas or come from overseas tend to produce more rapidly in the NBA. So I think his professional experience over in Australia will benefit him. While, I mean, he didn't have the greatest averages. He averaged 8 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists in 15 games, averaging 20 minutes. Not horrible, but you have to realize that he also played with Melo Trimble from Maryland back in the day, who is one of the best guards in that league. Another reason I think this is a great pickup for the Nuggets is he's not a guy who needs to produce for them immediately. They have they have a tremendous amount of talent, as we saw in the playoffs last year. And I really want to see if this Jamal Murray or Jay Hampton, like what's the word I'm looking for? Mentorship will work out, because if it does, RJ Hampton's going to be something special. And I have a feeling a lot of teams are going to regret passing up on him. But any other opinions on this NBA draft, Tanner?
Certainly one we've never seen before with the strange season and the quick turnaround. But certainly some surprises, stuff we talked about in Jalen Smith and Patrick Williams and Halliburton falling to 12. But it was a very solid draft. I think a lot of teams did in fact get better. And I cannot wait to see what these first rounders and even second rounders do.
Yeah.
What kind of noise they make in their rookie year, especially that top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all we got for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in, and check us out on the new episode next week. We appreciate you, Tanner, for coming on the show this week.
Absolutely. Love talking basketball. Don't forget, put in your guesses for the obscure player of the week. It's not an easy one, so I'll be very impressed if anyone does in fact sniff it out.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe.